93.9 Uncensored Everything Southwest Florida and beyond. And we have a great podcast today with the lovely Shannon Livingston. Shannon, we're doing a podcast. We usually do live streams, but we're doing a podcast today because this is a topic that we're going to have a little fun with.
Oh, I thought we were being more serious. I thought you were like pulling in the leash a little bit because you warned me before we started that this is the podcast, and
well, no, it's good. It's just our secondary mission is the video, right? So we do have a secondary mission. Well, yeah, secondary. Now, you'll understand that we are going to talk about some stuff that's going to be kind of fun for us because my background is law enforcement for 31 years. Your background is cannabis queen. Yes, opposite of law enforcement, but in a good way. I mean,
well, I did come from the illegal market, the black market. And then now I have transitioned into what we call the legacy market now, though. We've cleaned that up.
The legacy market.
So I come from the legacy market. But now my focus is really just education, cannabis education, especially in higher education.
Okay. And I want to do a little disclaimer. I've been in law enforcement for a long time, and we're going to talk about the war on drugs and that type of thing. And I believe there is a use for cannabis, but we'll talk a little bit about why I think there's a lot of bullshit going on and shenanigans going on with it as well.
You mean with the medical program in Florida and other medical
Not
programs?
Necessarily. I just, my thing is people are seeking out these cards so they can smoke dope and weed for bullshit purposes.
Why is that a problem?
Well, it's not. It's just basic.
Because they weren't smoking weed before. Now they're smoking a safe, tested, clean product.
Now, so here we go from a law enforcement standpoint, right? So a law enforcement standpoint, we look at as marijuana as at the time was, or cannabis, however you want to label it, because I've got my ass chewed by you for that.
Marijuana is a racist term that was invented
and that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
To push prohibition by making it sound Mexican. But go ahead.
I never heard that. Never read that.
You've heard it twice now. That you've never heard it. I've told you.
Everywhere I go, it's marijuana. It's written marijuana. I call bullshit on it.
I'm just gonna let a certain amount go.
For the
sake of conversation.
Yes, but I still call bullshit on it. But no, so I think that people are going to get cards and getting access to the marijuana in a way that's, to me, it's a little bit fraudulent. Similar to like pain pills and things like that.
So fraudulent, meaning that you think that people should have access to cannabis only for limited extreme conditions. Is that fair to say, or where are you coming from?
Well, what I'm saying is we know that it has been medically, it's legal here for medical use in the state of Florida, correct?
Right.
Okay. What I think is there's people that say that they have certain ailments and come up with certain ailments that are bullshit to get the card.
So I have two things to say to that. First of all, you don't know why people are using their medicine. So you don't have to limp into a dispensary to be somebody with a disability or issue that you're treating with cannabis. You cannot see PTSD. You cannot see lupus. You cannot see migraines. You can't see what is wrong with people. And really, it's none of your business. So cannabis does treat everything, and
it fucking masks it too. It masks it too, and you can't. Yeah,
it can be abused.
Of course, it can be.
We'll get there. But point number two is if you are smoking recreationally or even medically, if you're smoking for anxiety, a doctor would give you Xanax for that, or maybe you would drink vodka for that. And so that to me is a medical reason as well, a medical treatment. And so you are not going to pay extra money, be on a government list, and pay more for what you're getting at the dispensary if you already have a guy and have been getting high in your home with nobody, in your business. So to go and say we're abusing a system that we don't need, I don't think that takes into effect how easily accessible and affordable the legacy market is.
Well, let's go back. So I personally know people, and since it's became legal, they're like, I got my card now. It's all bullshit. I went to the doctor, and they know doctors that give the cards out like, candy.
Sure.
So the reality is
there are broad qualifying conditions.
Yes.
So let's not slam all the doctors out there.
And I'm not slamming. I'm going back to my original statement, and that's why I said at the beginning. My original statement,
like they defrauded this system.
Well, no, my original statement at the very beginning is I believe post-traumatic stress, anxiety, things like that. There are medical reasons for marijuana. However, I feel that a lot of people are getting cards, and I know several of them that have gotten cards just because now they can, you know, smoke dope and do whatever the fuck they want without any repercussions. And before there was a repercussion.
Okay, well, we shouldn't lock people up for treating or using plants as recreation. That is insane to me. And, you know, second,
it's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
What do you mean?
Because listen, almost every piece of medicine, or type of medicine comes derived from some sort of organic plant or whatever. Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. So now I'm going to go get heroin because hell, I can get it now. You know,
heroin started as a pharmaceutical from the Bayer Corporation, actually.
Well, yeah,
it had an E on the end.
But what I'm saying is people are abusing it. They're going and getting it now because they want to get it.
How is cannabis abused? What happens to their behavior or their life if they are now a legal patient versus when they were smoking illegally before? To me, that's being responsible and making sure that you don't lose your job and your family if you get pulled over for a taillight and you have your medicine in the car.
What I'm saying is go back, right? So if you have a medical reason to have the marijuana, if you're medically given the go-ahead by the doctor, I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have is, and I've actually had conversation with people that tell me that I'm good to go now. I can smoke weed while I'm driving down the road, and I can have it in my car. Making jokes of it, or they just now can freely, without having any repercussion,
right? So how is that a bad thing? I don't understand how that in itself is a bad thing. And whether people say that it is medical or not, all use is medical. It's like the Brussels sprout theory that you may eat Brussels sprouts because they're delicious, but you're still getting the nutrients. So it doesn't matter why you're eating the Brussels sprouts. They're good for you. It doesn't matter why you're using the cannabis. It's good for you.
No, I wouldn't say it's good for you.
I would. I just
masks you. It masks what's going on in your situation.
If you are using it to escape and you are not being responsible, you're probably abusing other things as well.
Well,
anything could be abused. I'm not going to argue that point with you. Like something like 7% of the population has some type of addiction or abuse problem. But even treatment centers now don't call it marijuana addiction. They call it use disorder. That it's creating.
It's another fucking bullshit name, right? It's another bullshit name that comes up.
Money.
And I want to but in this conversation, I want to let everybody know that I believe there's people out there that it does help.
Right.
The only thing I'm talking about is the 22-year-old that's having a fucking hard day and goes to the doctor, and now they're telling the doctor that, oh, I got all these issues. I got this. Now give me the marijuana card. It's bullshit.
You think it would be better for that 22-year-old to get started on Xanax? That's
no, I'm not saying that.
That's what that doctor is going to give that person for anxiety.
No.
Yes, sir. That is how we treat in the United States. Well, it's the pharma model that all doctors
it maybe could come to that, but I know narcotics. And then it's my job
to get them off of it with cannabis.
It's basically a bullshit. Like they call that a wheel. You're basically jumping on one wheel to get off the next wheel. And then the thing about it is, and you might argue this, and I hope you do, is I feel that it's a slippery slope, and it's gateway. And next thing you know, we're going to be pushing to legalize cocaine.
Okay. I think everything is a slippery slope. That's also called social evolution. You know, we've come from a time.
Well, that's why I walk around like fucking zombies now.
But we don't. People use whatever drugs they want to.
Go out.
Regardless of their legal status. They are going to use what they want to use. They're going to steal it from their kid or their grandpa. They're going to con their doctor. They're going to grow it in their shed. Whatever their drug of choice is, they will find it and they will use it. And I just don't think that we should penalize people in a criminal way for that. That is a new thing for this country, and it has not worked out well for us.
Well, I will tell you, though, I've had friends that went to Denver, Colorado, and they're like, it's fucking insane. People run around everywhere smoking dope. You smell weed everywhere. Bunch of fucking zombies.
Well, Denver has turned into kind of
a shithole. Yeah.
And it does smell like urine. But those issues are not directly related to cannabis. There are many
they're not directly.
Cities,
maybe they're
side where cannabis is legal, and that doesn't happen. Have you been to Aspen? Because that doesn't smell like piss.
Well,
you can buy cannabis there.
I know. My point is, though, I believe, my opinion, again, war on drugs, right? We talked about that. War on drugs, right? So we basically we're allowing steps for people to become, I'm just saying, younger people or even older people, but to become susceptible to addiction, another form of addiction. Well, I just think it's problematic.
I think we also have to talk about the difference between decriminalization and legalization. So if you're decriminalizing everything, then there really is no structured market for that. If you're legalizing everything, then you have a structured market. You have minors that are showing ID, same as they do going to a doctor and getting pharmaceuticals now. So, so that's different. You don't just say, all right, everybody can have heroin. And then, people like you that wouldn't do it illegally, all of a sudden you're going to start doing heroin because it's legal. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't happen. And it hasn't happened. We have seen historically when you legalize or decriminalize all drugs. Look at Uruguay. Their crime has gone down, not up. People are getting treatment now instead of being thrown in prison. Our prisons are full of people. We have for-profit prisons that are creating social issues. I mean, the ramifications of prohibition go well beyond just addiction. It ruins families. It ruins lives. And it has created this fentanyl problem. It really has. First, we started with the opioid crisis that was based in pills. What happened to the Sackler family? I think they paid a fine and went on, right? They're having a picnic somewhere, doing whatever they want to do. So if you're rich enough or you're part of the system, you can be a legal drug dealer. That's not an issue. You can ruin those people's lives. They'll do some documentaries, but you pay the fine and you move on. But we now are putting people in prison for, the third strike. I think came from the Clinton
Yeah, if you didn't fucking get it the first 2 times, you probably shouldn't do it the third.
Well, let's say you have a theft, you have I don't know, assault, and then you get busted with weed in your car. You go to prison forever.
I'm telling you,
mandatory.
I've been working this deal for 31 years, and I've never heard anybody, and that maybe it has happened.
It has happened a lot, and
going to friggin' prison because I've put people in jail over and over for friggin' possession of marijuana, and nothing ever happens. It gets thrown out, it gets out of court, but it's a revolving cycle. See, so it doesn't really.
It puts people into the system that shouldn't be.
Because you're fucking doing something illegal. They should be there. Oh, yeah, you're breaking the law.
Do anything illegal? What is that book? The 50 everyday felonies that we all commit, or something like that. We all commit crimes every single day that could throw us in jail.
Where does that come from?
Literature? What do you mean? Where does it come from? The library.
50 friggin' crimes that I do every day.
It's something.
I'm trying to think of one. I'm trying to think of one right now. Okay. Well,
people commit crime. We have a lot of stupid laws on our books, like spitting on a sidewalk is illegal, or, stupid things that people do. So I think where we differ is what is maybe the end result of people using drugs and what happens without some type of criminal penalty. So you think that people should have criminal penalties for using drugs?
No, I think people should have criminal penalties for using drugs that are illegal.
That's the same thing.
No, it's not.
So if I use somebody else's pharmaceuticals, that's okay. That's not.
No, I said it's illegal. It's illegal. Yeah, it's illegal. It's a felony. If it doesn't have your name on it, it's a felony. Could be a felony depending on what type of drug it is.
You know that if you're a pain patient and you're trying to use medical cannabis to get off of your opioids, they will cut you off cold turkey. If you have any THC in your system at all, they will not give you any narcotics. So we have also seen a whole.
That's probably not a bad thing. It's probably not a bad thing.
If you have somebody that has taken narcotics to treat their extreme pain every day for 20 years, and then one day you tell them no more for you, you don't get any more morphine, you don't get any more like whatever it is, because
you got THC, you're doing like 3 different drugs.
That's not how it works. And THC
so tell me, how does it work? Tell me, how does it work?
Well, first of all, the whole plant is better. So THC gets a bad name because it is the cannabinoid that causes euphoria. Now, euphoria as a side effect, not that horrible of a deal, right? I was on 18 pharmaceuticals at one point, and the side effects from all of them put me on other ones. So as far as side effects go, I've certainly had worse ones than euphoria. Now, you may not want that, you know, maybe you want to be a little more clear-headed, but at least with cannabis, we can self-regulate that. Really? I'm going to get you high someday, and you're going to be a nicer person.
You cannot. Hold on, what is that noise?
Was that too much education for you?
No, I love it.
Didn't want to hear about
I love it because you just like, it's like, no, go ahead. I'm just laughing because
we all have an endocannabinoid system, and it's the regulatory system for our body. And what that is why cannabis is good for everything. So, you know, it invites a lot of criticism. I understand that when you're like, oh, my elbow hurts, and people are like, use a little cannabis, right? It is good for everything because it affects our regulatory system, and basically it affects inflammation at a cellular level. That's what CBD does. But CBD, THC, any of those other cannabinoids on their own, while they have wonderful properties, it's meant to be used as a whole plant. It has what's called the entourage effect. So all of those molecules in the plant add up to have a synergy that they just don't have individually. It also is greatly affected by variables in nature. So when you try to reproduce this plant in a lab, you can't. And that is the only reason it is still illegal, because government and big pharma have not been able to replicate it in a way that they can make money off of it. They have tried with Epidiolex. It is not as effective as regular plant-derived CBD, and it is certainly not as effective as whole plant medicine. So there are reasons that it's not being replicated in a lab. It's not that it doesn't work. It works great, which is why it's not being pushed. You know, pharma likes to push pills.
Yeah, I understand. My whole big thing on this, we talk about the war on drugs, right? But my big thing on this is I do not have a problem that people, if they go out, they seek a doctor, they get a prescription, they do it. What bothers me is people use it and push it for the wrong reasons.
But what are the wrong reasons?
The wrong reasons
is about those.
I can drive around now smoking weed and not get in trouble by the.
That's illegal.
Well, possession of it.
Well, you can drive around with it in your car, but you cannot be altered operating a vehicle.
Well, no, you can't. But
that is still illegal. So that doesn't change with legal.
But what I'm saying is, when we're in law enforcement, I can tell you this: we're in law enforcement. We make a traffic stop. A lot of times we do smell marijuana in the vehicle, burning marijuana, whatever, and that's usually probable cause to get the folks out of the car,
right,
and continue on, to search with probable cause and, lawfully check the vehicle. Normally, in a lot of cases, we'll find other things. We'll find stolen stereos. We'll find cash, credit cards, things like that. It often leads to other things. Now what they're doing is somebody that is in the car, they'll say, I got a card. Once they say they got a card, they're using it as a tool to get around the law. But that's a frustrating part of it.
None of that even matters anymore, because the Farm Bill was signed in 2018, which legalized hemp, which means if you pull me over and you say you smell cannabis, it can be hemp.
It can be.
And you have no legal right to search my car.
It can be. It can be.
So we're going to start seeing all that. I smelled cannabis. Well, you can't smell with your nose there's THC.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Law enforcement.
But without medical cannabis, we already have the issue that hemp is now legal. So because we are growing agricultural and industrial hemp for fiber and medicine and, feed and all of that, you no longer have the right to pull me over and use I smell cannabis as a reason to come into
I do
my
know
car.
That. Yeah, right.
So the medical program doesn't matter. It's the hemp that changed that, not the cannabis.
But see, you're not you're totally not getting the whole deal of what's going on, because it's a bunch of bullshit. Funny? Actually, I'm not. I'm very in line with what you're saying.
I think that I have my Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable search and seizure. And so just because you smell my medicine in my car doesn't mean you have the right to go through my trunk.
If it's illegal medicine.
But how would you know? Because now we have hemp, is my point. You do not have the right to search my car anymore by just the simple smell of cannabis, because you cannot differentiate.
But when I make contact with those subjects, and if they haven't explained it's hemp, and they're saying, yeah, I don't have a card, I'm smoking weed.
Right. But their lawyer is going to catch on, and then once they go to court,
well, they already have.
Say,
I mean,
you do not. That is not no longer a probable cause to search because of the Farm Bill of 2018. Thank you, Donald Trump.
No, if they declare that that's what it is,
they have.
Yeah,
it has already been held up by.
No, I'm saying the subjects in the vehicle. I think I know it.
But I think this brings up another very good point. The war on drugs has allowed these things like huge violations of search and seizure. And so,
how do you say huge violations?
Huge violations of search. You don't get to come into my house because you smell weed. Like, that's not okay.
Not now, but before, previously, because it's illegal. If I look in your vehicle and I see a syringe and there's other evidence of cocaine or what looks like cocaine
or diabetes, if I have Oreos next to that syringe, you'll let me go.
Well, I mean, there's things that I can see with probable cause.
But you also don't know if I've been using my cannabis recently, and if I have, if that has altered me, because they have done studies that have shown some people are not altered at all, and some people are very altered.
Well, I'm not taking you out of the vehicle because of I'm not taking you out of the vehicle because it's altered. If you have needles and you have cocaine on the front.
Let's stick to the cannabis, just for the sake of this argument.
Oh, okay, we'll lean to the direction that you like to know. That you like to know.
Because I want to know.
Because you talked about the Fourth Amendment. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
But that's visible. That does give you probable cause, and that is illegal. So I know that if they are giving you visible probable cause to search the rest of the vehicle, you can do that. You can no longer do that with hemp and cannabis. That is not probable cause. Smelling it or seeing it.
If you roll up to a vehicle and there's weed and it's blowing and you ask the guys, hey, listen, what do you got going? Yeah, we're smoking dope. You got a card.
Well, that's an idiot.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Card, then they're violating the restrictions of the program, because they're very clear about the fact that it is
right.
Not
But
legal
that's
to use it
that's what's happening. That's what's happening.
Well, we have a lack of education.
Yeah.
Really, we have a lack of education, not just on how to use medicine appropriately, but on how to respect the system.
Do you not? I'm throwing this back to you. Do you not believe that there's people that are abusing the system?
People abuse every system, no matter what it is. I don't think that the handful of young people that have the money and the opinion that they think it's worth it to abuse the system, as you say, I don't think that is worth throwing out a system that helps to save lives.
Oh, no.
And
the reason why I made my statement originally at the beginning, I think that if somebody has, and it's the law, because when I was in law enforcement, we enforce the laws. It's not Tim's opinion. It's the legal, what's legal and what isn't legal. It's not Tim that says.
A lot of cannabis advocates take it personally, and I've you and I have discussed it. I don't ever take it personally. I respect law enforcement, and that's their job to enforce the law. It's my job as an advocate, hopefully, to change the law.
You get a little annoyed with certain things when we talk about it. I don't get annoyed.
You try to bait me into arguments when you make jokes about it, which sometimes I laugh. Sometimes they're not funny jokes. And also you have to consider, I think jokes are funny. I have a goofy side, but I have also really seen lives lost, whether it's to the prison system or medically.
And I haven't.
And
I haven't. I have never seen any of that.
From Prohibition.
I have never seen any of that.
Prohibition. So I don't want Prohibition anymore. I've seen people die because they haven't had access to clean.
Yeah, I've seen people die with needles in their arms.
So have I. And if they would have been able to have access to cannabis as treatment, then they wouldn't be addicted to heroin, hopefully. Have you ever
that comeback is like the worst comeback I've ever heard.
Have you ever walked somebody through heroin addiction and their withdrawal?
I could not come. That's going to be like the worst comeback.
Heroin addict?
No,
I have.
No.
So this is not me guessing what's going on.
Go smoke a bunch of dope and you would be fine.
No, we actually had to put him on Suboxone, which is replacement therapy, which is widely accepted. So if we have methadone and Suboxone clinics, what is wrong with the plant-based medicine that they can actually get off of as a step down?
Again, I go back to my original statement. If the doctor prescribes that, I'm good with it.
Well, it's a recommendation with cannabis because it's not federally legal. So it's not a prescription. It's a recommendation.
Oh, whatever.
But doctors are. We see treatment centers that are getting people.
And you told me, though, if you have any THC in your system, you can't.
Pain clinics are not going to treat your pain with narcotics if you have THC in your system.
And they check your blood.
And a lot of times with addicts, we see other problems. They probably started because they have pain. So while you treat the addiction, you still have to treat their pain. You can't just, get them off their drugs and push them out the door and say, good luck.
Right. No, I get it. Now, do you believe that marijuana cannabis is a gateway drug?
I love that you're making an effort for me, because I know that it doesn't matter to you, but it matters to me. So thank you. Do I think it's a gateway drug?
What kind of effort am I making?
I'm just trying to be nice to you, to disarm you so that I win all these arguments.
You're not.
But I do enjoy this discussion, because this is, I think, how most people think. And it is your way of thinking is how most mainstream society people think. It's what's framed for us in media, school, society.
But nothing I have said has been against what you say. Not one thing.
Well, we disagree about some things. Like, okay, so the gateway drug, the DARE program has taken cannabis out as a gateway drug and now lists alcohol and tobacco as true gateway drugs.
Yeah, I don't disagree with either one of those.
Shown that, and so, I've used cannabis since I was 12 years old. Never progressed to crack, never progressed to heroin, even though I had the heroin addict living with me. Never did it.
Well, that's
never
a good
tried
thing.
it.
Well, that's a good thing.
So the gateway theory,
just like alcohol, though, right? Just like alcohol. We all know, everybody always compares. They always go, well, Jesus, alcohol is a lot worse than marijuana. I probably agree with that.
Well, alcohol is the true gateway.
Yes, it's not good.
It's much more accessible.
Right.
It's altering. So
it's almost accessible. Caffeine, it's almost, cannabis is almost getting just accessible as alcohol. So you just basically lined it right up.
I would really, I would like to have it more accessible, because when people grow cannabis, if they're doing so in an unethical way that they don't really care about the end user, it's going to have pesticides and fungus and metals and stuff in it that you just can't. And I've known people in law enforcement, families of law enforcement, that have come to me and said, he was on his deathbed and I had to go out and try to score a bag, and I had no idea where to go. I had to call my nephew and, whatever, so that they could do this really shady feeling thing to give relief to their law enforcement loved one that was dying. And how horrible to feel like that, to feel shame over how you're choosing to treat.
Well, if you give somebody a drug, you can definitely fucking make them comfortable, right? let's get to the bottom of it, right? Let's get to the bottom of it.
And most of the time when
we
talk
what I'm saying?
About
the reality is
and smoking a joint, smoking flower is only effective for so long. If you are really using medical cannabis, you're probably using concentrates. You're probably, dabbing. You're using capsules. You're probably using a myriad of systems and different, methods of delivery. And so people need to understand too, people usually don't smoke their medicine if they're cannabis patients. That's what you and I see. That's what's on the news.
Vape it.
But the majority of people,
I know a lot of people that vape it.
Yeah, and I don't agree with that. If they vape whole flower, okay. But I think once we start,
can you vape the whole flower?
Oh yeah, it's much healthier. You get a Volcano. I have a tabletop Volcano. It's like a $600 vaporizer.
Oh shit!
I loan it out to different patients. In fact, I have to go pick it up because the last one passed away.
Do you rent it to them?
No, I would not do that.
I'm trying to find
you're dying and trying to get comfort. Here you go.
$20 rental.
No, my commitment to cannabis education has cost me a lot of money, because people come to me when they're at the end of the road and they don't have any money. They don't have any hope. They don't know how things work. And they just want somebody to tell them that it's an okay option.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And a lot of people don't know, but my ex-wife, she died of cancer, and she used cannabis oils as a treatment to help her. It wasn't so much a treatment, but it made her feel
right.
Made her feel better.
She didn't use it as a treatment for the cancer.
Well, she thought it was helping that way, and who am I to tell her the difference, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
it has been proven to kill cancer cells in 3 separate ways.
Oh, jeez.
It has, and it's not smoking a joint and then your cancer is gone. So
we
people need to
understand,
but a lot of people don't.
Right.
So people need to understand that they should work with their doctor and be honest about it and use it maybe in conjunction. But before we move on,
let me ask just one quick question. Let me ask this: do you think that, and we're probably in agreement in this, do you think that if somebody has cancer and there's they take cannabis and it makes them feel like things are better, maybe however it's happened, do you think that's, I don't think that's a negative thing. I think whatever they feel at that point,
if their depression at the end of their life.
Exactly. If they, I agree with that.
It's a really, it's a beautiful part of hospice because of that. It allows them to be more alert than a lot of their morphine, and it does allow them to kind of have a better attitude about dying. But cannabis shouldn't just be for the dying. It shouldn't be the last resort. We should be using plant medicine, true plant medicine, as our first line of treatment. So when people get diagnosed with cancer, they should have the option of treating with cannabis. And maybe that is also with radiation, chemo, whatever they're choosing. I'm not saying ditch all modern medicine.
And they're allowed to now, though, right? Are they allowed to now?
I guess then no.
Doctors.
So we have different systems are treating it differently. Moffitt is now doing seminars on medical cannabis. And while they cannot do the recommendation for it, they can work with doctors that do. Most doctors are realizing now that even if they're not a proponent of medical cannabis, they have to understand it and understand how it works with traditional treatment, because their patients are now incorporating that into their care.
And I believe they have to take a class before they can start recommend.
Well, that class it does not mention the endocannabinoid system one time. It does not teach doctors about the actual medical part of cannabis. It teaches them about the software and the regulatory part according to the state.
Software is like how to
input
it in the computer.
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
Does not teach them about medical cannabis, which is why I started a nonprofit for cannabis education. It wasn't just to write curriculum to put into colleges or have workforce certificates, which we did, and I'm very proud of that. It was really to help educate doctors, to get other doctors be able to go and educate those doctors, to have veterans come out and help other veterans. They don't all want to listen to me. They want, one of their own that they trust,
right?
Especially doctors.
Yeah,
but they don't know, because then it's not their fault. Like, we just learned about the endocannabinoid system in the early 90s.
That's a tough word. I don't know if I could spell that.
Endocannabinoid. It means your body is naturally making cannabinoids similar to CBD, THC, CBG, CBN, all the other things that are in there.
NBC, ESPN,
CBS, it's all in there.
It's all in there, every bit of it. Now, I cut you off. What were you going to say? You're going to say something totally off the track.
No train of thought.
We talked. This is about the war. The war. We talked about the war on drugs. I'm sure we're gonna have many more podcasts here, right? So on this similar subject or something to it.
I am very extreme, also, in just my view of the war on drugs, and so I do believe that all drugs should be legalized as a matter of civil liberty. But that, I think, is separate from my belief in medical cannabis and wanting to educate on that.
So from my standpoint, I just don't understand how you could possibly just think like everything should be legal and people should be able to take whatever they want. And
because we still have laws against theft, against intoxicated driving, against abuse. We have laws against all of that negative behavior that may come from abusing substances.
But if you could walk in and get it and just, I think it would put a lot of people over the edge.
If you go to Costa Rica, you go to the Pharmacia and you can get codeine anytime you want. I think it's called Codina. My friend now is in the islands.
They do the same thing in Mexico.
And on the back of the lunch menu is the Pharmacia menu. And that's for Americans. So it's not access, it's the mindset. And I think we in the United States take the majority of pharma in the world, and that's what we're used to. We have been conditioned to take a pill instead of eating better, go exercise, read your Bible, like whatever it is that helps you out and helps you cope with stuff in a healthy way. That's what you need to be doing.
No, I definitely agree with that.
Smoke a little weed. It's going to be good for you. Like Brussels sprouts.
So we had a lot of fun on this one. I know you got to add some more. We got about,
I can talk about it, really all the time, because it is such a complex issue. You have the medical component. You have the difference between, cannabis, which is a plant, and then harder drugs, and, which leads to fentanyl. And there are so many issues to it.
Right. And I think I'm pretty open-minded on things. I think for the most part,
it's creaking open a little bit more by more. I think you're open to other people's opinions, but you're still pretty firmly grasping
on my opinion though,
the gateway theory and some of those things, which is okay. We'll get you there.
Yeah, on my opinion, based on what what I perceive. And of course, again, I talk about that. People go, oh, alcohol's, it's not good. Alcohol's not good. I think we can all agree, probably everybody, anything in excess is not going to be good for you. You know, eat too much
but
TV.
We don't arrest people for being drunk. We arrest them for then causing a disturbance, for driving a car. So it's not about the use. It's about the irresponsible negative behavior that comes after.
True.
So that's what I'm saying is we can do that with all substances.
Yeah. No, I get it.
And have more treatment for alcohol abuse, because that has been so widely accepted in this country. It causes 7 or 8 types of cancer. It's at every fundraiser I go to for cancer. There's always a wine tasting.
Can you imagine what it's going to be like now? Recreation cannabis is coming. Now we're going to have 2 major problems. We got cannabis and now we got alcohol. It's going to be really screwed up.
What we see is in states of legalization, alcohol abuse goes way down.
Oh yeah, because they're fucking smoking weed.
Because they have an option, because now they can, have a legal option.
And one's better than the other.
Did you know that prohibition against alcohol started by women? The temperance movement was about a bunch of women that were tired of their husbands coming home and beating the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And so that really is what prohibition of alcohol was all about. Prohibition of cannabis, totally separate story, all about money, has nothing to do with public safety. We'll do that podcast.
That's another podcast. All right, that sounds good.
But this was fun.
This is good. I like it. It's passionate.
I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah.
I really am.
All right. Well, 239 Uncensored, everything Southwest Florida and beyond. The war on drugs continues. Podcast UA. We're going to be bringing this stuff up, and post your comments. I mean, obviously, neither one of our questions or comments, and we're not right.
You can use an alias if you want.
Yeah, no problem.
The man will come down on you.
The man will come down, and we are out.